This episode was produced in cooperation with Portland Radio Project and Funhouse Brews.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wild.
And we're The Watch.
And you're watching PDX Spotlight.
You give me a feeling down in my bones. God only knows the things I would do to get you alone. You feel like treason to the status quo. Sounds like a reason to put on a show. Floor. I don't know which way is up anymore. You got me fiending, babe, you know I want more. Losing time, losing sleep, oh honey, I'm yours. Whoa, whoa, yeah, take me there. If they're gonna say
Welcome to PDX Spotlight. I'm your host, Luke Neal, and today we are coming to you from the Pittock Ledbetter House with our very own Sarah Wild. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, you bet. It's good to be here.
Well, we got a ton of music in store for our viewers on this episode, but in this part of the interview, I wanted to kind of start because I love your personal story and your move in, some would say, like your regular life into the music life, and I think it's inspiring. So would you mind sharing some of that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was a musician my whole life growing up, sang in choir. My parents were both musicians. I played guitar since I was 7. So it was always a really big part of my life, but I never really saw it as a viable career option. So after college, I had majored in broadcasting, actually, wanted to do what you do. and I ended up in PR and just working in Portland and doing the corporate thing. And always in the back of my mind, I felt like that wasn't going to be a long-term thing and that I really wanted to get back into traveling. And so I ended up buying a one-way ticket to South America and just going down there with kind of no idea why and didn't know the language and just went. And for 7 months, I backpacked around South America. And the one thing that was kind of constant down there was I would always find a guitar. Like someone would always have one, and then I'd just start playing covers for people. And it escalated, reminded me how much I loved that. And it just escalated into kind of getting on stage at venues and opening for people. Like in South America, it was just super random. And then I ended up buying my own guitar and I started writing, but it was just kind of for myself. I didn't really plan on showing it to anybody. And then I showed it to one friend and she was absolutely blown away by this song that I'd written. And so that kind of gave me the confidence to actually show people the songs I was writing. And from there I started, writing, I think I wrote 30 songs in 2 weeks or something.
Wow.
Just really made up for so much lost time.
That's amazing.
Wow. All this stuff that was inside and just kind of came out. And so when I ran out of money, I moved home to Camas, actually where we are right now. And I just decided to make this a career. And I knew this is what I wanted to do. And so I just started putting my nose to the grindstone.
What were some of those earlier songs about early in your solo career? Like, where was, I guess, the inspiration coming from there as opposed to now?
At that time, I feel like I had a lot of like, I think I wrote about like my first boyfriend from high school, which even at that time was 10 years ago. But like, it was like a lot of past things that I felt like I processed through that. And so it was a lot of old love stories, and it was a lot of songs about traveling and like getting out of the corporate world and my journey essentially. And my first album actually was all of those songs, and I ended up calling it Wild Heart Gypsy Soul because it was like me talking about my journey and my travels and where it led me.
I love that record. It's really intimate, and just the soul of who you are as a songwriter is just so strong. But having said that, you turned a corner a little over a year ago and started doing things a little bit different. Can you explain to me what sparked that in you?
Yeah, definitely. I think every artist kind of goes through these periods of what they're writing about, and I think I just started late, so it was very, it was deep for me at the time, but I think as I started to grow as a person and as I started to be influenced by different types of music and get out of my like country pop bubble, I realized that I was actually a lot more drawn to rock and roll and like these classic sounds and just like, heavy guitars. And coincidentally, I was just working through a lot of deep stuff at that time too. And so the songs that were coming out were like a little bit more dark and a little bit more, more edgy. And I was kind of getting like really real with myself at the time. And so that was reflected in the music and obviously reflected in the persona. So I kind of wanted to be this like, almost like a Catwoman vibe where she's good sometimes, she's bad sometimes, you never really know what you're getting. But so that's kind of where the whole onstage persona came from, and it just stuck. It feels right.
Now, when you talk about the persona, I think it's exemplified mostly visually on stage, like with Villain. Like, obviously the song's about that, but you could throw the hood on, you can become a character. I've seen you do it with the hood and the mask or different iterations, but each time it seems like you become a different person. Do you feel that that persona allows you to do more as an artist that maybe you wouldn't have done as a solo singer-songwriter?
Definitely. I mean, I think what's most exciting about my music career right now is that I have two projects that I'm actively working in. I have Fox and Bones, which provides me that outlet for some of the sweeter, more gentle, intimate songs. And then, so this project can just be all the like hard-hitting rock and roll and the costumes and the craziness and really the performance. I feel like I get to fully step into what I love about performing, which is just like performing with my whole body. Like I feel it with my whole body. And it's become more and more important to me to like have that outlet with Sarah Wild.
To get to that place on stage where you're performing with your whole body and your soul, you've got to be supported by a great band. So talk to me about the guys that you're playing on stage with.
So I've got a 5-piece band these days, which is new. I added Sean Woodcock last January 2017 because he's got this amazing, he's got a lot of the heavy, cool effects.
Great power stance.
Yeah,
too.
Great power stance. He's got a history of being in metal, and he's my roommate, and he was just playing in my other roommate's room one day, and I was like listening to what he was doing, and I was like, what is that? Like, what? I didn't even know what instrument he was playing. And so I was like, you're in my band. And then the two that have kind of been with me for the longest are Everett Carlson, my lead guitarist, and Aaron Schur, my bassist. And they're just solid, great musicians, long history of, playing in all sorts of different projects, and they bring so much to the table as far as that. And then we just hired a new drummer this year, and his name's Ian Garner, and he's amazing as well, and we're just so stoked to have him on the team.
What's your process in creating music and then getting it to them to get stage ready? Because I find that fascinating.
It's really been interesting actually watching the progression of things, because in the past, I wrote the songs, brought them to the band, they put the arrangement together, and we went, and it was a lot of me, right? And now what I really have been wanting to create is like that we are a band and that this is all of us in it together. And so a couple of the songs, the newer songs that you'll hear tonight, Weather Them Bones and Finger Bam, Weather Than Bones was a song that I wrote on my acoustic and I brought to the band. And I actually brought it to Sean first because we were snowed in at our house. And so I was like, I got this new song, let's see if you could do anything with it. And then the other song actually was a riff that Sean had come up with that I really liked, and the band just started jamming on it, and it took me like such a long time to write lyrics to it. I had the melody forever. I think I wrote the lyrics a week before we played it at Mogo Fest. So it was like, it was a song, but I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to say in it, and it also never had a title, which is why it's called Finger Bam. It was like a silly working title that now has become the actual title.
I love it. That's great.
So now the process is a little bit more collaborative rather than me just being like, here's a song, now learn it. You know, it's more fun for everybody, I think.
When the darkness takes hold, weather them bones.
I'd like you to give a shout out to some of the people behind the scenes that are helping you create this music, because as you know, it takes a crew to make some great songs.
Yeah, so Villain was produced by Louis Verland, and he's amazing. And he actually did my first album too. And so he's just, I get such an amazing quality of sound from him. It's, I've listened to a lot of recordings in Portland, and still to this day, the stuff that Jano does sounds so radio ready. And so he produced and mixed that entire record, and then Ryan Foster mastered that. And so that's kind of who's on the team behind the scenes as far as that. But I also have Scott Gilmore helping me with visuals. The album cover was done by Tony Paniche, who's been a mentor to me throughout my business, and all of my branding was designed by Austin Bogart.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, the logo, that's
good.
pretty iconic. That I'm
sharp.
very excited about what he did with that.
So what would you recommend to some bands, either bands or singer-songwriters, as far as the business side, because you are so good at it and you do have an image, and everything you just mentioned speaks to that. It's so well thought out. So where do you think bands should start that are trying to create an identity for themselves?
For me, it was a lot of networking and meeting people who were doing what I wanted to be doing. So I was looking around at other bands or other businesses in Portland, and then asking them a million questions. I also went to a lot of the music conferences early on. I did the CD Baby DIY conference, and I got so much information there. And you have to accept that the business side is part of it, and even though we're artists and we want to just create, the other side of it is equally important. And at this stage in our careers, we have to do everything on our own. We do all our own booking, and we do all our own branding. And the best thing you can do is to find people who are excited about your music, who want to support you. And I got really lucky in a lot of ways, but I think it's a lot of just me putting myself out there and meeting people, and being willing to be humble and ask for their advice instead of being in competition, I guess.
Well, and it helps that you're nice and humble, but you're also one of the hardest working musicians in Portland. And I think just where you've come in this short time speaks to that. What can we look forward to in 2018? What do you bring to the table?
Yeah, so I think what our strategy is that we're also doing for Fox and Bones right now is releasing singles. And so being able to get really high quality music out there faster, rather than trying to wait to do a whole EP or a whole album. And the exciting thing that is next for Sarah Wild is that we're going to start trying to tour. So we had our first out of town show last summer. We played in Eugene, and we'll, the summer of 2018, I'm really hoping to do a 2-week tour just around either the Northwest or down the California coast. And to me, I think that's the next big step that I haven't done in the past, was getting out of Portland.
They say that's the best way to become famous in Portland, is to leave Portland and go on tour.
Yep.
All right, Sarah, again, we want to thank you for being on the episode. But before we let you go, tell us how your fans can find your music and you online.
Definitely. So I'm on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm most active on Instagram these days. It's at I am Sarah Wild, or /I am Sarah Wild. That's the same for SoundCloud. The best place to find all of that, though, is my website, which is just sarahwild.com. It's got, all of my shows, where I'm going to be. It's got, some collaborations that I've done that you can listen to through there. And then it's got links to buy the album and sign up for the mailing list.
So rad. Just want to thank you again for being on the episode with us today.
You bet. Happy to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Wild.
Always thought myself the heroine type, aim to save the world and fight for what's right. You got your poison running so deep in my veins. You got me being someone I can't explain. Crazy in my bones, and you let it free. Never realized I had a secret identity. Turn to the dark side, jealousy and greed. I do not trust you at all. I'm using guerrilla warfare, and your defense is a sure to fall. Trip to the underworld was never a part of the plan. Not till I leave your hair will I be good again. Hiding in an alley, black hood and red hair. I become a figment of comic book nightmares. Turn to the dark side, jealousy and greed. You are the victim of my darkest dreams. You come near me and my heart turns green. What can I say, babe? You bring out the villain.